Let us pray. Dear kind and merciful Father, we thank you for this blessed day. Thank you for the opportunity to come before your children once again. We ask that you open our heart, open our mind. Help us that we may comprehend the vastness of your work. These are the things we ask in your Son Jesus' name. Amen. I just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. I just want to say it's a pleasure to be able to come before them this evening and basically, take my time and just share with them that which the Lord has bestowed upon our soul. We have started a training program, and this would have been our third lecture that we're actually doing. And as we progress, we will go from one lecture to another until we have completed the training program. Our topic of discussion this evening is called pure air. The Bible says in Proverbs 26, verse 2, part B, that the curse causeless shall not come. That the what? The curse causeless shall not come. And also remember that disease never comes without a cause. What never comes without a cause? Disease never comes without a cause. Now, one of the things that I want to let everyone know as you go through the training, just like how you let the Bible interpret itself, it's also important that you let the spirit of prophecy interpret itself. So, let me go back a little here. It says in the book Ministry of Healing that disease never comes without a cause. My question for you tonight, my question for you today, what is the definition of disease? And now, saints, I know some of you who are in the medical field, you may say dis-ease, the absence of health. But what we're going to do, we're going to go straight back to the spirit of prophecy, and we're going to let the spirit of prophecy interpret itself. So we're going back to the same Ministry of Healing, and here's what we are told. We are told that disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from the violation of the laws of health. What is the definition of disease? Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from the violation of the laws of health. So if you watch here, saints, what we have done, we have used the spirit of prophecy to make statements and then to interpret its own statement. So we are not giving you our own personal opinion, but we are allowing the spirit of prophecy and the Bible, when we get to the Bible, to do their own interpretation. If that's clear, we all say amen. Amen. I'll say amen for everyone who is listening. So then my next question would be, is what are the laws of health? Okay, and here are the laws of health. And now, saints, as you listen to the laws of health, you got to remember that we serve a God of order. What do I mean by that? That if the God of heaven puts things in a specific order, there's a reason why he put things in that specific order, and it's important that we cooperate with him and work with that specific order. So I just want to tell you, no offense to my New Start folks. No offense to my Start New folks. No offense to the Celebration folks. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a specific reason why the spirit of prophecy begins with pure air rather than nutrition. And you will see in a minute, as I go through pure air, why it begins with pure air rather than nutrition. For example, let's say I go to Sister Nash or Chef, and I say, excuse me, can you change your diet? You'll find that, these individuals have already changed their diet. So, I'm just using them as an example. But you'll find that you're more likely to get some resistance from a change of diet than if I say, Sister Nash or Chef, can you guys do me a favor? Just slightly ajar your window a little. If I tell somebody slightly ajar their window so that they can get some fresh air, no one will object to that. You know what I mean? At least for the most part. But if you tell somebody, can I have your fish, chicken, turkey, beef, pork, shrimp, lobster, conch, crab, butter, eggs, ice cream, cheese, and animal milk? You know what I mean? They'll wonder if you're going out of your mind. But if you gently say to them, when you sleep, it's important that you keep that window slightly ajar, or just in general throughout the day, you let that fresh air come in and that stale air go out, and then it keeps that home in a position where it's fit for human habitation. You say that to the average person, no big deal. So keep in mind that God is a God of order, and there's a reason why he starts with pure air rather than nutrition. Just remember that. He's a God of order, and he does not err. So there's a reason behind starting that way. And by the time we go through this evening, you'll find that if you start with pure air as you minister and help others, you'll find that you have less objection in reaching those souls. So what are the laws of health? Pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness. Some people say, Brother Luke, what is abstemiousness? That word is so long. In essence, you can use the word temperance. But the word abstemiousness, it basically means to abstain from the things that are bad, and the things that are good, you do in moderation. Rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power, these are the true remedies. So now, saints, let's count. 1, 2, pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness. That's 3. Rest, exercise, proper diet. Proper diet is number 6 in terms of the order, the divine order that God has given us for the recording. So the divine order that God has given us, proper diet is number 6. But when we try to do our own thing, you'll find that the order that we may end up with is that we will see that proper diet is coming in at number 1. Okay, so just start. I will add that so God's children can actually hear what's going on. Okay, so let's continue here. And let me just, can everyone hear me? I got a message here from Sister Nash stating that, okay, perfect. Thank you, Sister Vickers, because I got a message stating that it seems like you guys weren't hearing me. But praise the Lord that Sister Vickers, can one more person just say that they're hearing me besides Sister Vickers? Let me just make sure that everyone is okay so far. If you're hearing me, okay, perfect. Okay, amen, amen. Brother Kelly, praise the Lord. Nice seeing you. So now that, I know that you guys are hearing, I will continue here. And it says, trust in divine power. No, let me go on. After proper diet, it says the use of water, trust in divine power. These are the true remedies. Saints, I'm going to share this with you. When I began studying and teaching pure air, it blew my mind. I did not know that pure air was so deep. Saints, let me tell you something. By the time we go through this topic, it will blow your mind. I have plenty of stories to tell you and experiences in this specific topic. So let's go to question number 1. It says, fresh, pure air is most essential to sustain life. Fresh, pure air is most essential to sustain life. Now, you tell me which is more important. You tell me if nutrition is more important or fresh, pure air is more important. Are you ready? Because I bet you most of us have never stopped to think about this. But watch this. We can live weeks without food, days without water, but only minutes without air. Isn't that deep? You know what I mean? Immediately you'd have thought, put food number one. But when you stop to really put things in perspective, you can live weeks without food, days without water, but only minutes without air. Let's go on. You know, that's really putting things in perspective, you know, as you listen to them. The circulation of the blood. In order to have good health, we must have good blood. For the blood is the current of life. It repairs waste and nourishes the body. When supplied with the proper food element and when cleansed and vitalized by contact with pure air, it carries life. I want to pause for a moment here. Listen to this. I want to repeat this. Watch this. I want to show you the order. I want to show you the order and the importance of pure air in terms of keeping the body healthy, in terms of regenerating cells, and actually helping with the transportation of food and so forth in terms of the healing of the body. Watch this. In order to have good health, we must have what? Good blood. For the blood is the current of life. Okay, so it lets you know that blood is the current of life. Watch this now. It repairs waste and nourishes the body. When supplied with proper food element and when cleansed. So, you see, food has to be combined with pure air to be able to get what you're looking for in terms of having health. So if you eat good food, all these organic food, and you do not have pure air, it's of no use. When supplied with the proper food element and when cleansed and vitalized by contact with pure air, it carries life. Okay, listen good. It carries what? Life and vigor to every part of the system. The more perfect the circulation, the better will this work be accomplished. Okay? Can improper blood circulation cause illness? Its circulation should not be hindered by tight clothing or bands, or by insufficient clothing of the extremities. Whatever hinders the circulation forces the blood back to the vital organs, producing what? Congestion, headache, cough, palpitation of the heart, or even indigestion, or some people say acid reflux. So watch this. Let's say, allow me to use a young lady, because, you know, young ladies tend to, you know, have a greater variety of clothing than men. So as a result, I think it would be appropriate to use a young lady in this situation. Let's say we're using a young lady and she has a top on, like a V-top that's cut low. Her shoulders are out, and she has on a skirt that is above her knee. Now, if you stop to think for a moment, the areas of the body that would have the hardest time getting blood are the areas that are farthest from the heart, which means her hands as well as her legs will have the hardest time getting blood. So we know that her arms are completely exposed, and we know from her knee down it's completely exposed. So the areas that are farthest from the heart, you're going to have a very hard time getting blood to those specific areas because the temperature of those specific areas are going to be much colder. The temperature is not a uniform temperature to help with the circulation of blood from one limb to another. So as a result, as there's a chill in the arm or a chill in the leg, the blood will rush back up to the areas of the body where there is uniformity in terms of heat. So here's what happened now. If you have too much blood in the chest area, where the blood would have been needed to go down to the feet and the hand, that can cause you to have a heart palpitation. It can even go as far as cause you to have start coughing. It can actually cause you to have a headache. It can cause the acid reflux just by improper dressing. And, you know what I mean, I shared this story with you guys already, but I'll share it once again because it's appropriate for this specific area. While here in Antigua, I remember I was staying by my aunt, and while staying by her, I do not use like fans or AC or anything like that. I like nature in its natural state. So what I actually did, I have all of my windows are open, and it just so happened my head is not under the window, but portions of my body would have been under the window. And I decided to dress a little bit more comfortable than I normally would dress. And in the middle of the night, I got up coughing. Now, I knew that I did not have a cold. When I went to bed, there was no cough, there's no issue. So this was around the December time of the year. So immediately, I automatically knew that my limbs were chilled and I weren't dressed appropriately. So what I did, I immediately got up. I put on a longer pants, you know, because I had like a boxer on. So I put on the long pants, and these are cotton pants that are breathable. And I put on a cotton long sleeve shirt. And immediately, right after I put that on, I'll assure you, Saints, in less than maybe about 2 minutes after putting it on, the cough completely ceased. Okay? So there are times that individuals might be walking within like a colder region, and I know there are people on the line from the U.S. or even the UK or maybe in Jamaica, where Brother Kelly and everyone broadcast from in Mandeville. I remember when I went up there, because of the height of Mandeville, it's a little chillier in Mandeville than most other areas of Jamaica. As a matter of fact, when I went to Mandeville, the thought came to me that Mandeville would be a part in Jamaica that can grow apple trees because of the chill in that area, because of the high elevation. So especially in areas where there's a chill, it doesn't make a difference if there's a chill or heat or not. You want to make sure that you have proper distribution of clothing, so in that way you don't get that congestion, you don't get that headache, that cough, that heart palpitation, or the indigestion as a result of not dressing properly.
Brother Luke, I want to interject here too. I totally agree, you know, with and could identify with your experience. Recently, I was rooming with a colleague in a hotel, and I was just overcoming the flu, and which wasn't really active, except, you know, with my throat area, it gave me some challenges there. And I remember one night I went into a spell of coughing, and it was about bedtime. And the AC was on, but I had a feeling it was getting on to me. And I took a pillow and actually made like a cave over my head where I could be breathing, but, you know, blocking off that draft from the AC. And really within a very short period of time, few minutes, I was able to stop coughing and continue sleeping comfortably. And the next morning, you know, there was nothing of that cough. So the cold air really is not ideal for the human body, especially when, you know, we see these flu-like conditions coming around.
And Sister Nash, you are so correct, and it lets us know that we need to be more mindful when it actually comes comes to dressing, especially at times when going to bed. You know, we tend to dress in ways that might put us in a situation where our health might be compromised, especially at the time where when we're basically sleeping, when you're less likely to make changes and so forth. So let's continue here. It says, in order to have good blood, we must breathe well, full, deep inspirations of pure air, which fill the lungs with oxygen, purify the blood. They can impart to it a bright color and send it a life-giving current to every part of the body. Good respiration soothes. Let's go here. Good respiration soothes the nerves. It stimulates the appetite and renders digestion more perfect, and it induces sound, refreshing sleep. Now, this is deep right here, saints. One of the things that we got to remember is that what oxygen does, it oxygenates the blood. Oxygenated blood takes the nutrients to the cell that does cellular repair while you sleep at night. So it is important that you have that window slightly ajar so that the fresh air can come in and the stale air go out, so that cellular repair can take place while you're resting. And that is one of the importance of having that fresh air come in while you sleep. I want to tell you a story about induces sound, refreshing sleep. I remember I was in Jamaica, and Brother Taylor and I, we met this young lady, and I think I shared this one with you guys, but it just so happened that these situations are just intertwining for these type of testimonies. And Brother Taylor and I are talking to the young lady. We're on her gallery, and she's like, look, the robber man is here, and people do this and people do that. And I said to her, don't you have rails? She says, yes, I do, but people still rob with the rails. I said, oh, blessed be the name of the Lord. Look, you have multiple rails for your car. You have rails all around the house. You're fully protected from a rail standpoint. I said, the least you can do is slightly ajar the window so you can get some rest. And Brother Taylor and I finally convinced her that she can keep her window slightly ajar. Let me tell you something, saints. This young lady was having problem with sleep. Immediately, as soon as she ajarred that window, she ended up oversleeping and did not make it to work on time. She called us the next day and she says, guys, you'd not believe, I'm so embarrassed. She said, I slept so good. She slept straight through the night and ended up oversleeping. Now, listen what it says here in the book Ministry of Healing. It induces sound, refreshing sleep. So her sleep was so sound that she ended up oversleeping. So I know there's some of you on the air right now, on the line right now, that is having problems with sleep. And I want to let you know that one of the reasons why you're having problem with sleep is because all of your windows are shut up. Unless you keep those windows slightly ajar, you will not get the blessing which you so desire. Did you know that if someone has high blood pressure, they can regulate the blood pressure just from proper breathing? The industry knows this so well that they invented a machine called Respiration to regulate breathing, and you can lower your blood pressure just by breathing techniques. Number 2, it says the strength of the system is in a great degree depend on the amount of pure fresh air breathed. This is necessary for mental alertness that we do have proper fresh air. Now, saints, I want you guys to do an experiment for me. And here's the experiment I want you to do. Anytime you're doing lecture, or you're involved in a lecture, or you are at church, and you find that you look around and you see a lot of people dozing off, all you got to do for me is just make sure that the windows are slightly ajar. You find that if you just go around and ajar those windows and you let that cool draft of fresh air come in that room, immediately everyone wakes up. Do you know sometimes why you find that people will sleep sometime at church and lecture halls? Because there's no fresh air. And I don't know if any of you guys have experienced that, but I personally have experienced it. When there's not enough oxygen going to the brain, you'll find that immediately you'll get that tiredness, or before you know it, that you'd want to sleep. So let's go over that question again. Question number 2. The strength of the system is in a great degree dependent on the amount of pure fresh air breathed. This is necessary for mental alertness that we do have proper fresh air. Ventilation. Air is the free blessing of heaven, calculated to electrify the whole system. You know which one I really like? This is deep right here. What I'm about to share with you, I remember I was in California, and this gentleman from the military, he came up and he said to me, "Brother Luke, do you know the deepest part of the ocean?" I said, "No, sir, I don't." He says, "It is called the Meridian Straits." I said, "Really?" So, Saints, I just want to let you know that what I'm about to share with you right now is as deep as the Meridian Straits. Amen? Listen to this. Air must be in constant circulation to be kept pure. Did you hear that, Saints? Air must be in constant circulation to be kept pure. So you'll find that where I currently live right now, my windows are always open. You know, the only ones that from time to time I make close down a little is the ones that rain come through. But all the other windows, they are open, constantly open. Air must be in constant circulation to be kept pure. Listen to this. Oh, this is sweet. Oh, as a matter of fact, Saints, you'll find that, you know that song, it gets sweeter and sweeter as the day go by. You know, you can add a new word to your vocabulary this evening. Just call it gooder, gooderer, and gooderer as the days go by. Listen to it. Listen to what it says here. It says, "Let there be a current of air and abundance of light in every room in the house." Let there be what? A current of air and an abundance of light in every room in the house. Sleeping rooms should be so arranged as to have a free circulation of air day and night. Now, Saints, listen to this now. This is deep. Listen to this. No room is fit to be occupied as a sleeping room unless it can be thrown open daily to the air and sunshine. So listen to this. You know all those nice hotels that you guys like to go to? Especially in America, the UK, Jamaica, the Caribbean, all these nice fancy hotels that don't give you access to what? Fresh air and sunlight. As a matter of fact, in the U.S., most hotels are designed to prevent you from opening the window. And the reason behind that is because of the amount of suicides that have been occurring recently, where people go to a hotel and they jump out the hotel window and commit suicide. So the hotels have taken precautionary methods to prevent that situation. Now, Saints, what I do whenever I'm booking a hotel, I always verify to see which hotels have windows or doors that I can open. And I stay with those hotels, I would say 99.9% of the time. Once in a blue moon, I get caught off guard. Like, for example, I remember the other day, I was in, I think it was Florida, where I got caught off guard, and I got caught right after the hurricane. I was in Florida right after the hurricane, and basically there were only a few hotels operating where I went, and as a result, it's just whatever you get, you take. But for the most part, I'll tell you, wherever I go around the world, be it U.S. or wherever, windows are being thrown open, and my windows tend to stay open from the day I arrive till the day I leave. Number 3, those who do not open the home to pure air is sometimes irritable, sluggish. All the windows in their homes are closed. All the windows are closed in their home. So let me repeat that. Those who do not open the home to pure air is sometimes what? Irritable, sluggish. All the windows are closed in their home. Most people never associate irritability, sluggishness with lack of, with lack of fresh air. You never assume that by not having your windows open, that's what causing you to be irritable, where you just constantly you snap at everything that comes around you. Or you're just sluggish. You just find that you're moving slow, not realizing this is the situation. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you guys a story. I remember I was in, can't remember exactly which state, but I was in the U.S., and I walked up to a young lady's home, to a sister, and as I stepped in the home, I turned around and walked back out. That young lady had all of her windows completely boarded up and shut tight. As a matter of fact, when I walked in, a heat and a scent hit me. I turned around and I sat outside. I sat outside close by to a tree. And she says, Brother Luke, is there any reason why you don't want to come in? I said, yes, let's talk, and you'd understand. And by the time I began to explain to her, she was amazed because she just boarded up every window. The only area that was open was the front door when she had opened it for me. And all the kids, she had multiple kids, and they were all sitting in that home hot. When I tell you heat, hot. And there was just so much clothing and box and materials all throughout that home. I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, every one of those kids had sinus-related issue. Number 4, this may result in chronic sinus condition. Blessed be the name of the Lord. There it is right there. This may result in chronic sinus condition or respiratory issue, lack of good sleep, other illnesses, or difficulty staying alert. So whenever you don't have those windows properly tilted, properly open, or just slightly ajar, listen what it does. This may result in chronic sinus conditions or respiratory issues, lack of good sleep, other illnesses, or difficulty staying alert. Number 5, at night. Go ahead.
Yeah. Some time ago, I was actually consulting with a family, and when we were talking, and going through the laws of health, and we got to this area about pure air, I explained, the same thing as we're going to talk about, opening that window, keeping it open during the night while we sleep at least an inch, and the benefits of doing so. And as I explained to the family, the parents just looked at each other and their eyes locked as they realized that they had, poor air quality within a particular room in their home. Their daughter, they explained to me afterward, had asthma attacks almost every night. They were fatigued from lack of sleep because they had to rush her to the emergency room almost every night, literally. And what had happened is that they had a relative come to live with them, and they created a room in the center, in the bedroom area, where it had no windows. So this was a young girl's room without any windows. And as she slept in there each night, she will have the wheezing, asthma-like conditions, so severe that she would need to be rushed to the emergency room. And so they quickly made changes after our talk. And, when next I heard from them, there was no more asthma-related issues. And the family was doing really well.
Oh, thank you so much, Sister Nash, for that. Question number 5. At night, crack the windows at least 1 inch so fresh air can come in. Now, Saints, let me ask you guys a question. Isn't air deep? And listen, we haven't gotten even to it yet. We haven't gotten to the heavy stuff yet. But, for all these years, I've always heard about our health message. And the focus have mainly been around nutrition. But as you begin to study the writings, you're like, wow, air is deep. It is far deeper than what I actually expect or anticipated. It says, question 5, at night, crack the windows at least 1 inch or so that fresh air can come in. The windows should be open and the blinds, listen to the instructions, this is deep, and the blinds fastened back. So now, Saints, I know some of you may keep your windows open, but guess what you don't do? You don't move the curtain back. So even though the windows are open, you're still not getting the blessing because you have not moved that curtain or moved the blinds back so you can have that air exchange taking place. Listen to this. The windows should be open and the blinds fastened back and the air left to circulate freely for several hours. Now, Saints, this is deep. What is the definition for several? Because you got to look up the definition. Because if we're told several hours, the definition for several is more than 2, but not many. So what the instruction that is given to us, it says the air left to circulate freely for at least 3 hours minimum. 3 hours minimum. If not all day through the sleeping apartments, okay, it says if not all day, at least through the sleeping apartments. In this manner, the bed and clothing will become thoroughly aired and the impurities will be removed from the room. Now, since, I know some of you guys are living in all these nice developed countries as you may think. But I remember as a child here in Antigua, I remember my grandparents used to have us pull the mattress from time to time. We had like a stone heap. I don't know if the people in the UK or the US or Jamaica or other Caribbean countries had this experience. But we had like a stone heap outside. And from time to time, we would take our mattress, take off all the bedding, put it on the stone heap, and let it get some sun. And you know what I realized? Is that we never got anything called bed bugs. But today, with our developed countries and our individuals who are just so busy, nobody sun their bed or their mattresses anymore. So guess what they do? All their windows are dark. They go in their bed. They sleep in their bed. They perspire in the bed. And then all of a sudden, they make up the bed with the perspiration in the sheet as well as the mattress. And they do that day in, day out, cover the wet bed because they slept and perspired in their mattress overnight. And over a period of time, guess what happens that you don't know? Fungus develops in that mattress. Moles develop in that mattress. Bed bugs develop in that mattress. And you have no clue because it's covered and you don't know. That's why I always say to individuals, when you wake up, do not make up your bed. And I know for many of the older folks, they're like, oh, that brother Luke, he's telling people not to make up their bed. Now, saints, I am telling you not to make it up, but make it down. Okay? So instead of bringing the comforter and the sheet and cover that area that you slept on, do not do that. Make the bed down. So in that way, the air and sunlight can purify and dry the mattress, dry the bed in. And then when you come home in the afternoon, if you want to, you can then make the bed up, but you would have made it up after sunlight and fresh air would have purified that mattress, and as a result, you're less likely to have the bed bugs and things along that line. So it says here, in this manner, the bed and clothing will become thoroughly aired, and the impurities will be removed from the room. Rooms that are not exposed to light and air become what? Damp. Beds and bedding gather dampness, and the atmosphere in these rooms is poisonous because it has not been purified by light and air. So remember this now, saints, if you don't open your window, let the fresh air and sunlight come in, it tells you right off the get-go that the atmosphere in these rooms are actually poisonous because it has not been purified by light and air. Now, while I'm reading this, I want to give you another option, say something here. I remember I was in St. Lucia. And in St. Lucia, I stayed in this apartment. And what they did in the apartment is that they had the bathrooms in the middle of the house. Okay, so the bathrooms were in the middle. So now, saints, come on, help me out a little here. If the bathrooms are in the middle, tell me what's missing. All windows are missing from the bathroom. So guess what? Because all windows are missing, there's no fresh air, there's no sunlight. All you have is just the regular light. I have stayed in hotel rooms where they do not have windows, but you know what they do? That kind of just kind of let me know that they have access to some sort of information. They put these heating lamps in these rooms. You'll find that from time to time you go to a hotel where the bathroom is in the middle, where it has no access to a window to get the fresh air and the sunlight. So all of a sudden, what do you see? There's a heating lamp above that allows you to turn that on, and it will make that room super hot, simulating the sun to destroy any fungus, bacteria, or any type of overgrowth that you may have in that bathroom. But the problem is, you still do not have the fresh air to aid with circulation, okay? So you need both. You need the sun and the air in order to have perfect circulation. It says, in these rooms is poisonous because it has not been purified by light and air. Various diseases have been brought on by sleeping in these fashionable health-destroying apartments. You know, in the spirit of prophecy, when it says these fashionable health-destroying apartments, it's actually talking about hotels, you know. So I thought I would share that with you. That quote is talking about specifically hotels. You know, various diseases have been brought on by sleeping in these fashionable health-destroying apartments, you know. This thing just gets gooder and gooder as we go forward. It says, in pleasant weather, the sick in no case should be deprived of a full supply of fresh air. Fresh air will prove more beneficial to the sick than medicine. It is far more essential to them than their food. Saints, did you hear that? Saints, I don't think you guys got what I just said, what I just read. it says here, fresh air will prove more beneficial to the sick than medicine, okay? And then it continues and it says, and is, watch this, far more essential to them than their food. So one of the things that you want to do is that when someone is ill, make sure they have adequate level of fresh air and sunlight hitting them, getting directly to them, or coming through that room, a strong draft coming through that room, not hitting, you know, when I say strong draft, you want it to come in the room, but not to go on an invalid if they are in that type of case. Another thing you can also do too, which is something I strongly recommend, is to take the sick and put them under a tree. Some people say, why, Brother Luke? Why would you put the sick under a tree? Well, that's where the doctors are. You know, you have Dr. Sun, Dr. Fresh Air. So you put them under the tree and introduce them to Dr. Sun and Dr. Fresh Air, and you'll be amazed to see how well these individuals recover. Let's continue. Every breath of vital air in the sick room is of the greatest value. Although many of the sick are very ignorant on this point, they feel very much depressed and they do not know what the matter is. A draught of pure air through their room would have a happy, invigorating influence upon them. The sick room, if possible, should have a draught of air through it day and night. The draught should not come directly upon the invalid. Upon the skin, its million little mouths are closed, because they are clogged by the impurities of the system and for want of air. They breathe the same air over and over until it becomes impregnated with the poisonous impurities and waste matter thrown off from their bodies through the lungs and the pores of the skin. Many houses have no special provision. This is question 6. Many houses have no special provision for proper ventilation, and to secure it is difficult. But every possible effort should be made to arrange the sick room so that a current of fresh air can pass through it night and day. In such cases, windows and doors should be open in an adjoining room, and thus let the fresh air enter the room occupied by the sick. So the instruction is, if you have the sick in a room that you don't have proper ventilation, and you have another room close by that has proper ventilation, open that room next door, put the curtains back, and you let that air come from that one room and bring that draught of fresh air into the room where that invalid is, so that they can benefit from that draught of fresh air and get as much sunlight as you can in that room. Many who have died of consumption, this is tuberculosis, might have lived if they had breathed more pure air. Fresh outdoor air is as healing as medicine and leave no injurious after effects. So if you listen, it says many who have died of tuberculosis, consumption, that's another word for tuberculosis, might have lived if they had breathed more pure air. Isn't that deep? That's deep right there. Deep, deep, deep. TB. During the sojourn in the wilderness, the Israelites were almost continually in the open air, where impurities would have a less harmful effect than upon the dwellers in the closed houses. But the strictest regard to cleanliness was required both within and without their tents. No refuse was allowed to remain within or about the encampment. Now, saints, let me share this with you. I know that there's a lot of pet lovers on this line right now. And since I'm not here to tell you to have pets, or not to have pet, because I want to let you know I do have a dog myself, but my dog never, and I repeat that, never comes into my home. My dog stays outside and is secured where its dog house is, and that's where my dog stays. Okay? I know many individuals, they take these pets, be it dogs, be it cats, and they have these cats and dogs just roam freely throughout the home, not understanding how pure air works, not understanding cross-contamination, not understanding the amount of different viruses and bacteria that cats and dogs carry. And individuals tend to go ahead and have these pets living in the same home as human beings. As a matter of fact, I'll share a story with you that just occurred. It occurred during the hurricane, and the person just died. Let's see, we're in March right now. They just died maybe about 2.5 months ago. They just died. Listen to this. One of my former neighbor that I grew up with in St. Croix, Virgin Island, after the hurricane came through and devastated the Caribbean, devastated St. Croix, she decided to go and live with her cousin. I think it was her cousin, and her cousin and other family members, they were living in the home. But what they did, they took their dog and brought the dog in the house during the time of the hurricane, and they let the dog stay in the home. Well, this young lady, and she's a pretty young lady, they kept the dog in the home, and she got infected. She got some sort of infection from the dog, and as a result, when they finally was able to get her medical help, because remember, it was during the hurricane time, and a Cat 5 hurricane hit St. Croix. So there was no medical attention was able to be given basically to no one in different remote areas. And so she was a healthy young lady, didn't have any health problems to the best of my knowledge. But after having that dog in the home for the time that she had it there, she got an infection from the dog, and in no time, she literally died. By the time they got her to the hospital, she was so sick that there was nothing that she can do, and shortly after, she actually died. So I want to let you guys know, you got to be careful with these animals, these pets that you put in the home. If it was up to me, I would suggest to the listeners, let the pets them stay on the outside. You know, and you'll be amazed to see how well they thrive and how well you thrive if they stay in their respective area. The Lord said, "The Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp, to deliver thee and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy." Every cell in our body requires oxygen in order to function. If the air we breathe is not pure, then we force our body cells to function on this impure oxygen. The American Lung Association has declared that up to half of all illnesses are either caused or aggravated by polluted air. 1 of 4 ailments caused by not getting adequate fresh air. This is question 7. Number 1, fevers are caused by not getting fresh air. Colds, lung-related diseases like asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, headache, fainting, vomiting and diarrhea, smallpox, measles, and since I can go on, skin disease, eye diseases, all these are all caused by not getting adequate fresh air. What are some ailments caused by lack of fresh air? Now listen to this. This is deep. It says the stomach, liver, lungs, and brain are all suffering for want of deep, full inspirations of air, which would electrify the blood and impart to it a bright, lively color and which alone can keep it pure and give tone and vigor to every part of the cell machinery, of the living machinery. So the stomach, the liver, the lung, and the brain are suffering from want of full, deep inspirations. So keep that in mind. Question 8. Our cells need oxygen, water, proper nutrition, and true cleansing of proper function. Cleansing for proper function. Question 9. Oxygen is the one chemical essential for the cells to create energy. Oxygen is the one chemical essential for the cells to create energy. Question 10. Every minute, 5 quarts of blood passes through our lungs to get fresh air and to release carbon dioxide. So every 5 minutes. So saints, listen, just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every 5 minutes. No, I'm sorry. Every minute, 5 quarts of blood passes through our lungs to get fresh air and to release carbon dioxide. So not every 5 minutes, every minute, 5 quarts of blood passes through. Let's continue. Question 11. High levels of smog and pollution can increase stroke of those who live in industrialized, crowded cities. High levels of smog and pollution can increase the risk of adult onset appendicitis. I remember the other day here in Antigua, we had an incident where within a specific school, they found that a lot of the students were having the appendix removed. And I will definitely tell you, one of the things that I think that the people were somewhat ignorant about is actually the smog from the type of pollution from time to time we get from some of these cars. I realize that in the Caribbean, that because they have no laws to govern pollution in terms of what comes out the exhaust of individuals' car, is that from time to time individuals would have some very foul, strong scent coming out of their car in terms of these smugs. That's why personally I avoid driving behind vehicles that have these strong smell behind them. I know this evening when we were coming back from the store, someone was sharing with me that when they drive with a specific individual, and I'm not going to call any one name, I'm not going to let people know that I'm talking about Sister Nash. So I just want to let you guys know, I'm not going to call anybody's name, that whenever this specific individual sees people that comes in front of her and they have these either dark smoke or these strong scent from the exhaust, she immediately will pass these individuals or drop real far behind them and put up all her windows and turn on her AC, because she is not going to get any that type of smell into her system. Am I making sense to you, Sister Nash? Yeah, okay, well, maybe she's muted and she would not.
Amen.
Amen. So remember that high levels of smog pollution can increase the risk of adult onset appendicitis. And you know what that does too? I had, because he's now deceased, I had a good friend of mine. He was actually a scientist. And you know what he said to me? He says, James, there are certain parts in the U.S. that smog has actually basically reprogrammed the DNA of individuals. And he pointed to research that came out of San Francisco. And he named a couple other places too, but I can't recall them specifically. But definitely the smog level that was coming out of San Francisco, he pulled up the documents and showed that because the high level of smog that was coming out of San Francisco, it actually reprogrammed the DNA for individuals that was actually living within that city of San Francisco, California. Harvard Medical School, this is question 12, Harvard Medical School studied show elevated concentration of fine air pollution can trigger a heart attack. So you'll find that if you're in an environment where there's a high level of pollution, that can actually put you at risk for a heart attack. Air pollution and diabetes and obesity, its relationship to that. The human study shows that increased risk of type 1 diabetes, type 2, insulin resistance, higher body weight, gestational diabetes, high blood sugar, complications, mortality in people with diabetes. Animal studies show that air pollution also causes immune system disruption, high blood glucose, insulin resistance, more fatty tissue, glucose intolerance, and more complications in rodents with diabetes. So the studies show that not only does air pollution affect human beings, but it also affects animals to the same degree. Inflammation in the body can be caused by inhaling impure air, which can actually affect the internal organs. In the presence of chemicals which causes the LDL to oxidize, LDL cholesterol indirectly causes inflammation. Inflammation plays a major role in the progression of plaqued artery, arteriosclerosis. Question 13. The smoke and dust of the cities are very objectionable. It says, listen to what we are told. The smoke and dust of the cities are very objectionable. Get out of the cities is my cry to God's people. Get out of the cities is my cry to God's people. Question 14. No waste vegetables or heaps of fallen leaves should be allowed to remain near the house to decay and poison the air. Nothing unclean or decaying should be tolerated within the home. Now, saints, you know what I find is that many individuals who have these big trees, be it mango trees, and I know some folks would think I'm deliberately picking on mangoes, but I am not. There are folks that just, probably Brother Farley over there in Barbados, oh, well, he didn't have a mango tree. It's his neighbor mango tree. But, you know, folks who have mangoes, they let all these mango leaves fall on the tree, from the tree, you know, after it's finished bearing and so forth. And they just let the leaves just stays down there and rot. And as these leaves rot, they let off a chemical that actually poisons the ear. You can actually, from time to time, if you walk close, you can actually smell the wet, decaying leaves. And one of the things you need to be aware of is that these actually poison the ear. Something else also too, you'll find that individuals, the very same individuals who like to lock up all of their windows, they're the very one that would eat the mango skin, the banana skin, and throw them right in their trash instead of actually creating a compost and putting these things outside to form some level of fertilization that they can get the blessing from the decaying of it on the outside to help fertilize the soil. You'll find that these individuals, they'll throw these fruits and so forth in the trash, and as they throw it, by evening hours, you have that strong smell coming through the home. Where now, you know, the air in the home has been poisoned. And when the air in the home is poisoned, there's no way you'd be able to make good blood. It says, many suffer decayed vegetable matter to remain about their premises. They are not awake to the influence of these things. There's constantly arising from these decaying substances effluvium, that is poisoning the air. By inhaling the impure air, the blood is poisoned. The lungs becomes affected and the whole system is diseased. Disease of almost every description will be caused by inhaling the atmosphere affected by these decaying substances. So saints, you will find that if you're one that tends to let leaves drop and decay around your yard and you don't rake these up and clear them out, the gas that comes out from these will eventually cause you to develop some sort of sickness because of that. Question 15. Our homes can have air that yields sick condition or triggers of impure air are air fresheners. You know what I mean? I see everybody goes around today and they buy all these chemicals and they just plug them in and it releases all these scents that they assume are good scents, and then they wonder why they're having all these allergic reactions, all these sinus and congestion issue. And I'm like, well, have you thought that maybe that thing that you plug in is the cause of all of your issue? So number one is air fresheners. Number two, plug-ins. Fumes from these can cause respiratory issues over time. Scented candles. I know a lot of our ladies, when they're taking that bubble bath or that special bath, or they just want to relax and enjoy life to its fullness, they like to get these scented candles. But what they don't realize that these can actually lead to lead poisoning. They're dangerous for infants and small children as well as pregnant women. So number two is plug-ins. Number three is scented candles. Number four is radon gas, found especially in basements. It's the second leading cause of lung cancer. And remember that testing can be done for radon gas. It actually can seep up through concrete floors. So a lot of times individuals here in the Caribbean or even sometime abroad, we may have basements, but we never check to see if there's any form of gas that is coming up out of that basement that affects the health in any way. Pesticides. Studies show, this is number 5, studies show a correlation of inhaling pesticides to Parkinson's disease. Now, saints, I want to tell you a story about the pesticide thing. I remember a good friend of mine, as a matter of fact, he and I were talking this week, we were talking a couple of days ago, and him and his wife, they were living in Virginia, and they got a job in Georgia. So the husband decided to move down to Georgia ahead of time, and the wife and kids were getting ready to move down. But in their preparation to move down, the wife was outside cutting the grass. She was using the lawnmower, cutting the grass, and while she was cutting the grass, she was also putting out weed killer. Well, when she attempted to throw down some weed killer to help kill the weeds from her lawn, at the very moment she threw the pesticide down to kill the weed killer, the wind blew, and it blew all of that right in her face. And shortly after, within like a few minutes, all of a sudden she began to menstruate right then and there. And saints, let me tell you something. You know, the scripture tells us we are fearfully and wonderfully made. The human body is amazing, okay? Let's say, for example, I'll tell you a story within a story. I remember, let's see. I remember, how long ago is this one? I remember a few years back, I was eating breakfast, and while eating breakfast, all of a sudden, I got like a funny feeling, and then all of a sudden, I start vomiting. Well, I thought that, to be honest with you, that is very weird for me. And the reason being, I eat at set times, 7 days a week, no exception. And I space my meals out at least 5 hours. I think it's like either 6 or 7 hours I space it normally. And I maintain that schedule. So by the time my next meal come, that first meal would have completely been emptied from my stomach. So I normally will never have issues with multiple meals in my stomach. I don't have that because of the way I eat. So I thought it rather unusual for me to vomit. So what I did, every item that I ate, I went back and I began checking the expiration date to see what was going on. And lo and behold, I had just picked up some milk from one of the major grocery stores in Atlanta. And as I looked at the top, the date of the milk was expired. And it just so happened that not only was it expired, it was spoiled, you know what I mean? And I actually used that to make my cereal. And lo and behold, that's what actually poisoned me. It food poisoned me. And right after that happened, I actually vomited up everything. So when I looked at what I vomited up, I realized it was every single thing that I had just consumed. I just went ahead and rinsed my mouth out, and I went back and I start breakfast over. I replaced the milk with another milk, and I just enjoy my breakfast, you know. And the reason why I was able to do that is because of the fact I eat clean. When I say I eat clean, because I don't eat and drink at the same time, because I eat at set times, when I looked down at what my vomit was, I realized it was everything that I'd eat. So I'd completely emptied my stomach. I didn't even go ahead and take some charcoal because I realized that I had brought up everything. So technically speaking, where I'm going, because I put in something that was spoiled, that was poisonous to the system, the body immediately triggered some level of how to get rid of it. And the way it did it, the body vomited. It caused the body to basically get rid of that which I eat. So in that way, I did not poison the organs or even the blood. So as a result, it was basically a clean vomit, a clean getting rid of that which was in my system. Now, okay, I want to show you. My situation was a food poisoning, but it was something I had just consumed, went in, and as soon as it went in, the body just pushed it right back out. My friend now, who had the pesticide that they were working with that blew into their face, watch this. That pesticide was not food. And what it did, that pesticide poisoned the blood. And because it poisoned the blood, what the body did was amazing. The body began dumping the poisonous blood to avoid the blood from poisoning the rest of the organs. Come on, saints. Am I making sense? Is this coming clear so far to you? Listen good. In my instance, the only thing that happened is that the food got down to the stomach. The body realized, hey, this food is spoiled. The body spits it back up. Bam. Get rid of it. The blood was not affected, so it did not dump the blood. The pesticide now, when it went through the nostril, it poisoned the blood of this young lady. And you know what the body did? Rather than circulating that bad blood throughout the whole system to damage the rest of the organs of the body says, dump the blood. Saints, is that deep? The body says, dump that blood. And you want to know what happened, Saint? That lady, she dumped all of the blood in her body and ended up having to need a blood transfusion. They actually had to transfuse her that very night to save her life, because basically so all of the blood in her body was poisoned, and the body dumped it, and the body actually needed blood as a result of that. So just keep that in mind. Number 6, cleaning chemicals. Cleaning ovens, top of the stove, or spray gloves, or hot areas can give off fumes that can be lethal. Now, since the other day I had an emergency at work, and we called in a cleaning service, and I watched the girl. She dumped ammonia and Clorox together, and I'm like, "Hey, don't do that!" She dumped it. I said, "Okay, I'm fine." And Saints, let me tell you something. I stood up and I watched that lady ran, because when she mixed those two chemicals together, the fume that it gave off was so toxic that she almost killed herself. And another lady that was close by with her, they had major issue and they had to run from that situation. Okay, so you got to be careful here. Let's go number 7. Nitroxide or sulfroxide, some small portable kerosene heaters. Now, Saints, one of the things that we in the Caribbean have to be mindful of is that we have these small gasolines that we tend to put under our kitchen sink or keep in the home, and we got to be mindful that sometimes that there might be leakage taking place, and the elements that come out of these items can be very poisonous to us. Or sometimes some people may have their country home where they're burning either their portable kerosene heaters or kerosene lamps. You got to be mindful of these situations, okay? You have lead paint that can actually cause brain injury. Asbestos, this is number 9. It increases the risk of cancer and, as well as lung cancer. You have mold. We have mucus built up, sinus, and even cancer. I tell you, Saints, I know you guys are saying, Brother Luke, he just has so much story that he's telling. But one of the things that I hope that by telling you the story, it will actually leave a deep impression upon your mind, and it will help you to see the importance, and as a result, be able to implement that which we are sharing. Good friend of mine, he was living in West Virginia, him and his wife, and they had just moved in an apartment. But one of the things they did when they went into the apartment, they didn't thoroughly check the home. So they put their clothes in the closet. Okay, Saints, you got to listen to this. They put their clothes in the closet and, close their closet back. Well, lo and behold, in no time, fungus began growing on the clothes. They didn't even realize that there were fungus growing on their clothes. So they took their clothes out and they put it on and they wear it as normal. By time they realized that there were fungus all over their clothing, let me share this with you. These people had fungus throughout their whole system, that they began becoming allergic to almost everything. To the best of my knowledge, I think they probably end up dumping either all of their clothes or end up doing some sort of special cleaning to deal with the fungus. Look, fungus is no joke. One of the things that we're told in the spirit of prophecy, we're told that cancer is caused by a germ. And when you look up what is a germ can either be a virus, a bacteria, a fungus, a protozoa, or it could be parasites. So we know that as you study cancer as a whole, cancer can be caused by those specific items. Am I making sense, Saints? Carpets. You'll find that carpets tends to hold everything in them. They hold fumes, they hold chemicals, they hold dust, they hold moisture, you name it, they hold it. So if you can have a home with no carpets or just maybe like a mat, they can wipe your feet and take it out and shake it out and clean it easily, great. But if you put carpets throughout the home, you're likely to run into issues. Carbon monoxide. These are people who have like chimneys or furnaces. You'll find that the people that are in the UK as well as the US, that tends to burn wood in their chimney to stay warm. I remember at one time when I lived in New York, sometimes it would get so cold that what we did, and it was normal. It was normal for most people in New York to do this. And I know somebody who might be listening to this program, either as we speak or later on, they themselves would probably confirm that this is something that either they have done or they have seen others done. We used to, from time to time, turn on our oven and turn it on and pull the door down and just leave it open and sleep with the oven on as a means of generating heat throughout the home to stay warm, because at times it had gotten so cold. Well, whenever you do that, you run the risk of coming down with carbon monoxide poisoning. So you got to be careful with that. Number 13, you have something called sick building syndrome, where all of a sudden you see everybody that's in a building, they start coming down sick, and nobody has an idea why everybody in that building is getting sick. That has happened several times here in Antigua. You have, I remember, I got to tell you this one. Our major electrical company here in Antigua, they just built this nice, beautiful building. And I remember when I went upstairs, I went up to one of the higher floors and to get some issues resolved, because we were trying to get, I think we were trying to get some electrical things work out for the building that I just moved into. And when I got up there, immediately I smelled the moisture upstairs. I smelled the moisture in the wall. And I said, can I ask you guys a question? Don't you guys smell the mold in here? Some people said yes, some people said no. I said, do you guys try to get out of this place from time to time to make sure that you guys get some fresh air? And they said no. I said, you guys should try. And one of the reasons why I say that is because when you're not in an environment, as soon as you walk in, you can immediately smell. I don't know if you guys ever experienced it, but you can smell mold. If you have the nose for it, as soon as you go in, you smell that moisture, you smell that mold, you know you need to walk out. I'll tell you a story, another story. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dr. Agatha Trash, the late Dr. Agatha Trash from Uchee Pines Institute in Seal, Alabama. She has done mighty work, mighty work. I remember one time she went into a newly built medical missionary college, brand new. It was a lifestyle center, medical missionary college she had walked into. And as soon as she walked in, she walked out and she said mold, and she began calling the number, the series, which mold it was. And when they went back and they checked, lo and behold, the entire brand new building just built, the entire wall was consumed by a mold. And it was so bad that the state actually came in and condemned the brand new building that was built by this medical missionary college. So as a result, they weren't able to actually utilize it. Number 14, glue and silicone. These are things that you tend to find in buildings. Number 15, pet dander and feces, the waste material from animals. It says here, if you have pets in the home, have a little box with antibacterial products. Remember that the children of Israel had to go outside the home to relieve themselves. Sand in a litter can control the odor, but the bacteria can drift throughout the home and circulate over a period of time, thus making the air impure. Instead of using commercial chemicals for cleaning, consider going to vinegar. It will do a good job in cleaning. Replace disinfectants with oils such as peppermint, lemon, lemongrass, eucalyptus, and etc. And you have a nice fragrance throughout the home. And this is what we do at the store from time to time. We use these oils, and we'll just mop with the oils them. And when you walk in, you're like, wow, the people are so impressed in terms of the smell of the store. Number 16, where can we find optimum quality of air? It says fresh air contains negative ions, which help the immune system fight diseases. Where can we find optimum quality of air? Early in the morning or late in the evening. By the mountainside, by the seaside, or right after a rain, or even right after a thunderstorm. You'll find that right after a thunderstorm, the negative ions in the air are very, very high. Number 17, purify your home with plants. Name 3 house plants that aids with air purification. You have something called the peace lily. You have the dumb cane, the spider plant, the snake plant, dwarf banana tree, the rubber tree, philodendron, pine fir. You even have like the it says here has the spider plant, has the snake plant. Okay, so it has those. Okay, good. Peace lily has that. Okay, and peace lily, just to give you some heads up, is excellent for removing all 3 of the most common chemicals from the air, like formaldehyde, benzene, and triloethylene. It can also combat toluene and xylene. Okay, so shade and weekly watering are all the peace lily needs to survive and produce blossoms. It tops NASA's list for removing all 3 forms of basically say chemicals from the air. You have something called aloe. You guys are familiar with the aloe vera plant. That is excellent in terms of doing that also too. You have the spider plant, the snake plant. As a matter of fact, we call the snake plant daga here in Antigua. Excellent for air filtration system. You have the golden pothos, and almost every home you go into, they have this plant, Chinese evergreen. Remember this, that fresh air contains negative ions, which help the immune system fight disease. Ions are molecules that have gained or lost an electrical charge. They are created in nature as air molecules break apart due to sunlight, radiation, and moving air and water. Negative ions are odorless, tasteless, and invisible molecules that we inhale in abundance in certain environments. Question 18. Exercise in the open air should be prescribed as a life-giving necessity. Air, the precious boon of heaven, which all may have, will bless you with its invigorating influence. If you will not refuse its entrance, welcome it, cultivate a love for it, and it will prove a precious soother for the nerves. It refreshes the body, while at the same time its influence is decidedly felt upon the mind, imparting a degree of composure and serenity. It induces sound, sweet sleep. Now, if you can turn to your lifestyle assessment form questions, and you're going to go to the section with air. Turn to the lifestyle assessment form, and you're going to go to the question with air, and we will continue on that area. Let me just take a little drink here as we go on here. We're going on to question 19.
Yeah, the lifestyle assessment form, the work piece is actually found in chapter 30, and so that's the area that you're going to go to. So chapter 30, and you go to the portion of pure air.
Okay.
As we just looked at the indoor plants, it reminded me of recently one of my sisters actually went on vacation, and she had in her home lots of these indoor plants. She said it's like her indoor garden, and she was kind of concerned about leaving them for about a week and a half unattended because she had no one to go into the home to water it. And she thought, wow, when she comes back, they're all going to be dead. The thing is, while they absorb the toxins from the place, the room, they also, can survive indoors. And she said the Lord impressed her to do something that she wouldn't really think of, and that was that she got containers, filled them with water, and placed them in between each of the potted plants. And last night she was actually showing me that they returned yesterday, and her plants survived. They were healthy looking, and they even grew. One of them, the vine one that you looked at a short while ago, it grew down and actually reached into the little bowl with water. And one of the peace lilies, they were blooming with multiple lilies on them. And so just creating that cool atmosphere actually helped those plants to maintain and, not only they maintained well, but they were growing, continued growing.
Okay, amen. That's definitely a good testimony when you can leave and you come back and see that your plants have actually grown, even though that you're not there to give any forms of watering.
To water them, but of course the water evaporated, and so it created a cool atmosphere. And it's winter time, so the outdoors, what's coming in, it's quite cool too. But on the inside of the home, as the water evaporated, it reached the plants. And then remember, these plants would store the moisture and the water within their leaves, and they just continued doing well.
Amen. So, question 19. Okay. It says, where do you live? How can where we live influence our health? It says low damp areas should be avoided as it can result in sore throat, fevers, and lung diseases. High levels of smog and pollution can increase strokes for those who live in industrialized or crowded cities. Choose high elevated areas for abundance of air and light. Choose a place where there are trees and nature around for children to play and exercise their mind. Now, saints, I want to tell you, I remember when I was first looking for a home, I actually went to the Spirit of Prophecy to see what the Spirit of Prophecy had to say about purchasing a home. And the Spirit of Prophecy, lo and behold, had a whole lot to say. One of the things it says, do not buy any homes on the lowland. And it says the reason for it is because it will be flooded out. Okay? So one of the things I do every time I'm out there looking for homes or a new home, I try my best to make sure that I do not whatsoever, no matter what I do, I run from homes on the low line because I know that they will flood out. That's number one. Number two, plenty ventilation. You got to make sure that the homes are heavily ventilated. So in that way, there are adequate amount of windows. I remember the home that I had while I lived in Georgia, that home I think had about 32 windows or something like that. Tremendous amount of windows. Advice and wisdom as you're looking through too is that, and this is something that I picked up after, as I'm reading, and you find that Spirit of Prophecy is giving you the wisdom to make the right decision. One of the things I learned also to never put like washing machines and so forth. Let's say you have an upstairs and downstairs home. Do not put these items on the second floor or above. you want to put them on the bottom floor, that in the event that there's a flooding, okay, that the flood is on the lower level and it's not on the top level running down to the other levels. So, as you go through Spirit of Prophecy, it is amazing the wisdom it actually gives you in terms of making right decisions as you go through life. Question number 20. Do you sleep with your windows open, and why is it important? It says pure air at night keeps the cells oxygenated, which helps with cellular repair. It helps to avoid exhaustion, fevers, feeling hungry, diseases, and sluggish blood circulation. To have constant supply of oxygen to keep cells and lungs strong and healthy. Okay. 21. Do you open your windows and doors daily to air out the home? And why do we recommend this? It says pure air promotes blood circulation. It refreshes the body, calms the nerves. It gives good appetite and digestion, and induces sound sleep. Now, saints, if you're wondering what we're doing here, we have something called a lifestyle assessment form that when someone sits before us, we have them fill out a form, and it actually gives us basically like the history in terms of their lifestyle. And through how they fill out that form, it can basically give us an idea what health issues they have or what health issues they're at risk for based on their lifestyle, because it goes back to the original definition. And the original definition is that disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from the violation of the laws of health. And so once you understand that, then you know that you figure out what laws are being violated. As you figure out which laws are being violated, you correct the violation. And once you correct the violations, you sit back and watch the glory of God. Question 22. Do you live or work in a smoke-filled environment? Can someone who does not smoke develop lung cancer if they work in a smoke-filled environment? The answer is yes, they can. The air, laden with smoke and dust, with poisonous gases, and with germs of disease, is a peril to life. And we also told that right now they found that third-hand smoke is even worse. So you have second-hand, and you also have third-hand. And they're saying right now that with third-hand smoke, it's actually even worse than all of the smoke, the different type of smoking that you can encounter out there. Do you have live plants throughout your home? What can plants do to help improve air quality? What they do, they purify the air with plants in the home, like the peace lily, the dumb cane, the spider plant, snake plant, dwarf banana tree, rubber tree, philodendron, pine fir in the yard. These are excellent in terms of air purification. Number 24, are there any environment that you are in that do not have a good supply of fresh air? What diseases can be caused through an improper supply of fresh air? List at least 3. You have lung disease, liver disease, rheumatism, neuralgia, sinusitis, sore throat, fevers, and even headaches. Do you wear tight-fitting clothing that restricts your lung expansion? What clothes or clothing items can restrict lung expansion? You have girdles, belts, corsets, tight bands, tight pants, body shapers. All ladies have taken things to another level right now. A lot of ladies right now, the body shapers, they just put that on. They say, look, this is not a girdle or anything like that. But what it does, it just makes sure everything falls in line and stays in line. So you have ladies that are pulling these items up right under their upper body, and they're causing major problems for them from a circulation standpoint, from a digestive standpoint, and every possible thing that you can think of. Saints, I'll tell you something. It's amazing as we stop and study the laws of health. As you stop and you study the laws of health, you'll be amazed to see that these topics are far deeper than our perception has always been on these specific topics. I'm just going to go ahead right now and stop the recording and then open it up for Q&A.